Hello and welcome back for episode 20 of the Noobie Dentist podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Omid Azami, and in this episode, we did something pretty cool, and we initially recorded this interview on Instagram Live with my guest, Todd Snyder, and it was pretty cool, pretty successful. We did run into a few glitches along the way, so please bear with me as you listen to this episode. I tried to clean it up as best I could to cover for the interruptions and lost connections that we had during the interview. Dr. Todd Snyder is a leading cosmetic dentist and a lecturer and an author and a serial entrepreneur who does a lot of cool things on the side outside of dentistry, including racing cars, which is pretty awesome. Dr. Snyder and I talk about a lot of topics in this episode. We go back to his origin story from dental school onwards and how he's progressed in his career, how he's become a lecturer, talking about restorative materials, ceramics, adhesive systems. And he's done a lot of cool things in his career, and I was really excited to talk to him. And he does impart a lot of wisdom to me, and therefore to the listeners. So I do hope you guys enjoy this episode. Stick to it till the very end. He does give me a little bit of a sort of a one-to-one advice about potentially opening up a practice. Now that I've moved down to Australia, and gives a lot of really good tips that kind of got me excited and has got me thinking really of how I want to proceed with my career from this point onwards. So we'll jump right into the episode. Please, enjoy it and get in touch with me as always on Instagram at Noobie Dentist or on my website at noobiedentist.com if you have any comments or feedback. I always love hearing from the fans of the podcast, and it is something that I really do enjoy. So please get in touch with me if you have any questions or just to say hi. I would really appreciate it. All right, enjoy the episode.
Hello, and welcome to the Noobie Dentist podcast, the safe place for newbie dentists to connect, collaborate, learn, and grow. The Noobie Dentist podcast aims to provide high-quality and high-value content for all the newbie dentists out there. With your host, Dr. Omid Azami.
Awesome. Okay, so we have Dr. Todd Snyder here. We're doing a sort of a cool new thing today, and I stepped in on there. I guess you guys saw each other at the conference this week. So we're going to try it out, do a sort of a live interactive podcast. So we'll do our interview. And if you guys have any question, we can fit it in and try and get it answered for you guys. So Dr. Snyder, thank you so much for agreeing to be on today. I'm excited to talk about your journey a little bit, see what you've been up to for the past few years. It seems like you have a lot of stuff on the go. So I'm excited to sort of dive into that with you. That's what I want to do. So I wanted to start off, how I like to start these things off sometimes is if you can just take us back to you're in fourth year of your dental school program. And I want to see sort of your mindset at that time, getting ready to graduate, enter the workforce. And,
in my fourth year, the whole concentration was get out of school and pass.
Yeah.
but had you asked me in dental school if I was going to, be out teaching and writing articles, lecturing, I would have said no way. And every one of my classmates would have said the same. Number one fear out there is, public speaking, second being death. And here I choose to go out and do public speaking. So I'd say the number one thing is I got a mentor in my second year of dental school, Bruce Crispin. And he took me under his wing, showed me all kinds of stuff. I would follow him around like a little duck. And, I started to talk like him and act like him to some extent. And so fourth year, it was kind of like, I definitely want to do cosmetic dentistry. I want to do that because it's a lot of fun. It's artistic. And so he said, I'll show you how to do everything. So I was thinking of going to PROS programs, and I held off on the PROS programs and said, all right, I'm going to go do a GPR for a year. Kind of learn some things. And then he said, hey, we'll have you come back and create the graduate program. The graduate program allowed me to create any type of, kind of design concept I wanted for all the technology and thoughts that I felt I needed to be a good cosmetic dentist. So that was great. Ultimately, knowing that at one point I would have my own office, and how I was going to get there was kind of an unknown. And so getting out of school, doing a residency, getting faster at their skills, and then starting to say, all right, well, what's next? Do I go out in private practice? For me, it wasn't, because UCLA said, come on back and teach, create a graduate program. So I did that for 3 years, did some research while I was there. Worked under some amazing guys, Bill Dorfman, there in Beverly Hills, and a couple other guys that were accredited cosmetic dentists. Learned a lot of things and said, all right, after learning all those things, it's okay. I can finally pull the trigger and do my own office. I think I know enough business wise, as well as having done enough dentistry and learned enough, that I felt I could pull it off.
Yeah.
A bold move to start from scratch, nonetheless.
And this is in California, right? Like the most saturated place you could possibly be.
Yeah. When I did my demographic studies, like, well, it's not the best place to be.
Yeah.
Not knowing a soul in Orange County and having lived in LA and San Diego.
Yeah.
To open from scratch was not the smartest decision, but it can be done. And there's people still doing it to this day.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't pick a highly populated area with tons of dentists and six dental schools pumping out students every year.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. So I was listening to your talk or your podcast that you did with Howard Friend a couple years back. And you mentioned out of school, you're lecturing for like product manufacturers. Like, how did like all these opportunities sort of fall into your lap?
It's a ripple effect. You throw the pebble in the lake and it, the ripples eventually hit the shore.
Yeah.
So when I was at UCLA, I took ceramic classes from Ed McLaren and other people out at Vita, which is in Brea. And so having done that, they then asked me if I could do some of the lectures for them to, like, let's say Lab Day West or ceramics. And so I started doing ceramic lectures. So I could stack porcelain. I could do different types of, ceramic systems were on the market back then that we don't use much anymore.
Yeah.
But I would go with a different perspective. Hey, I'm a dentist. This is what I want and how I would choose it. But I also reduce the tooth structure a certain way to give the lab technician more ability to do their job better, having known how to stack porcelain, what goes into it. And so they sent me around. And someone from there jumped ship and went over to Kerr, which is right here in Orange. And they said, hey, Snyder does a great job. And so I started doing stuff with Kerr, and then someone leaves Kerr and goes to GC, or GC talked to me for some other reason. And it's like, now I'm over there. And then as incestuous as it is, everyone keeps jumping ship and everyone continues to say, hey, bring Snyder. Or, then people start seeing articles or hearing lectures and saying, hey, let's talk to this guy. And so that progressed. And then eventually it came to the point where I was getting enough opportunities in lecturing. It was getting difficult to kind of get the honorarium dollars from the manufacturers, because it's a lot of work to continue to put yourself out there, and it's like a second job.
Yeah. So
fortunately, I met Lou Graham in the Catapult group at one of the roundtables for Kerr, and he took me to aside and said, hey, we got this group. There's a bunch of key opinion leaders. Love to have you be a part of it. And so with them, they kind of are the middleman between myself and conventions and things, where they will discuss what lecture, when it's to be done, and how I get compensated. So that took a lot off my plate and continues to open doors to allow me to do more things. That's
pretty cool. And so when you start lecturing for these kind of things, so you did your GPR and then you started doing this. Where did you have that like credibility that like you're like, amongst like all these specialists, I'm going to show up here and I'm going to like be the one lecturing these people? Like, how did that confidence come? How did that where did that credibility come from? Like, was that built like through the years, or you just had that like fake it till you make it mentality and kind of just started doing your thing, and it eventually got where you got to now?
Well, they're obviously not going to, nobody's going to pick you up unknown and say, hey, let's put you on the stage and let you be the key opinion leader to talk to all of these people. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you have to do something over time. And so for me, it was, proving yourself to little, groups of laboratory technicians that eventually became, hey, can you do some study clubs for us talking about just simple adhesion and composite, which, we're all taught that in dental school.
Yeah.
And so you start out probably fairly crude, similar to what you learned in school. And as you learn more and see more, maybe read some research, you start to formulate kind of your own kind of process as to how you approach adhesion. Based on fundamental research, and that may continue to grow, and you start, adding in other elements of common practice, let's say. And as that continues to grow and you get better at your craft, they say, hey, well, by the way, you've done great with lecturing on composite for us. Can you do provisionals and impressions?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sure. So then you start taking photos of that. And then it's like, all right, well, what else could you do? It's like, well, I like glass ionomer. It's like, okay, well, lecture on glass ionomer then.
Yeah.
And as you start getting all these different components and building things together and trying to make something that's interesting, eventually you get to the point of going, all right, I've done enough stuff. I can tie it together. Instead of being like an hour lecture, now I've got enough content. I can do a 3 hour or 4 hour or maybe a 6 hour. And so you continue to grow yourself and learn as you're going through the process. It's the same as an amalgam. Dental school is 3 hours to do an amalgam.
Yeah. It still takes me 3 hours.
So it takes time to learn how to do things, and there's not like someone who teaches you necessarily. There are some organizations out there now that you can take. I took Toastmasters in Carnegie's program.
That's interesting. I've been looking into that, actually, the Toastmasters, to improve your speaking skills, your engagement skills and all that. So is that something that you start off right off the bat, or like down the line you kind of got into it a little bit?
Here's one of the biggest tips I'll tell any dental student. Any dental student coming out, biggest thing I can tell you, it's not how much dentistry you know. It's not how good you can do the dentistry. The most important thing you need to look at is how good can you talk to a patient and get them motivated to move forward and to be comfortable talking to people and to be confident talking to people. If you have confidence and you can talk, that's huge. So the first thing I would tell anyone is, don't go run out there and try and get your mastership in AGD and feel that, if I get that mastership, every patient's going to come running to me because I'll be a great dentist. Makes no difference. It's a wonderful accolade to have, but you need to learn how to talk. Go out and take Carnegie, take Toastmasters, because the one thing it's going to do for you is going to help you in your business. It's going to also help you get more patients in the door by going out and talking. If you want to go to Rotary, Kiwanis, et cetera, and do presentations for 10, 15 minutes, you'll get more patients out of it. The second thing I would tell you to look at is look at how to advertise. If you can figure out a way that advertises for your niche market or your personality, whatever that may be, if you can do that well, that will also set you up. I know plenty of dentists that are not good at their craft, but they kill it because they're great at talking and advertising, and people love them and listen to them. And they have such charisma that they could sell anything. So I'm not condoning doing bad work, but hey, if you have those two components and you do good work, well, now you're gold. Yeah,
the game's easy at that point.
So that's the thing I would focus on coming out of school. I would say, forget learning how to do all the dentistry and putting an emphasis on it.
And I 100% agree with that. And that's what, I'm just starting out myself, and it's not like I have like a lot of experience to lie back on, but I tell people, I'm like, especially when I talk to dental students, like case acceptance, like get comfortable talking, get comfortable presenting, because like you said, you can take all the CE and everything in the world and you can do the best clinical procedures. But if you don't know how to like get to the point where you're actually doing that kind of dentistry that you want to be doing, it's never going to be as good, right? You're never going to get the opportunity to actually do it. So another thing I wanted to ask you in the same area here is, obviously, like seems like you're someone who naturally had that confidence in talking and communicating as well, that you had some innate like ability in it. And a lot of people do, and some people unfortunately don't. But how much of it was you knew you're comfortable and good at doing this, and then you still went and did Toastmasters and did all that to hone it a little bit? Or do you think they naturally have it and you kind of did all this stuff and then you acquired those skills?
I think it's like anything you acquired over time. You know, there's definitely people that are just that way. I was not the outgoing, talkative, confident guy running around in high school or college. I was always kind of the quiet one, kind of watching everything, learning, taking it all in. And when it was time for me to do something, I would do it. And I'm still that way in many regards. And so you definitely get more comfortable. I mean, I can remember having to give a lecture and just be scared, really scared to be, what am I going to say? Am I going to do things right? And you'd get done and you'd be on a high. You'd be like, oh my gosh, that was cool. I pulled it off, and things went well. And nowadays it's like no big deal. It's like, okay, you want me to talk? No problem. So I don't get the high anymore. I don't get the nervousness. Now, if Gordon Christensen's sitting in the front row or something, but I will get nervous if I've got someone like that there. But for the most part, I don't get nervous anymore. And it's one of those things you get very comfortable. If something goes wrong, it's like, whatever, we'll fix it. Versus in the past, be like, oh my God, something's not right. And so you definitely get confidence with time. It's like anything. And go back to the amalgam. You get confidence. Like, I can put amalgam in there, no problem.
That's great.
So anyone can get that with time. And then the same with being comfortable in the dental office, doing anything on the planet, you will get comfortable with time. Yeah,
with time. You got to put the work in and be patient. So another theme that I've been exploring a lot with a lot of guests lately is that mentorship. And you touched on that yourself a bit earlier. You found a good mentor when you're in second year of dental school and kind of like took you under his wing and showed you the way a little bit. So for those of us who are out there and we're looking for that mentorship right now, what tips or recommendations do you have for people for reaching out to people, who are in a position? So for example, like Instagram, so obviously popular now, a lot of there's a strong dental community on there. So if we're looking for that mentorship and, for example, we come across your page, how do you how would you recommend someone approach someone like you and be like, listen, I want to get into, for example, cosmetic dentistry. I'm a big fan of, the way you're doing what you're doing right now. How can I work with you? How can I get that mentorship from you? What recommendations do you have or suggestions do you have for people in that situation?
Well, I think if you can't have someone locally that you can kind of watch over their shoulder, then the next best thing is if you can create a dialogue that you can maybe send cases back and forth and have at least a discussion, or live interaction via cell phone, whatever. Or in my case, I'm hopefully going to start with all my other stuff, start recording some videos this year.
Oh, nice.
And posting more content on Instagram in the story as far as how to do things. I'm not going to clutter my I don't know what you call it, my page or whatever with a bunch of how to do's. But I'll definitely putting stuff up in the storyboards and maybe links to the videos and put those online. And I own a website company, so I think there's probably a way that I'll be putting it on my webpage for people to go to, because I do have all my articles there typically. So I figure I'll just start bolstering it with more information, and maybe at some point I make it such that it's like some kind of subscription thing for $20 a month or something. So it's worth my time to do it, because I get asked all the time to do stuff, and it's like I can't do everything.
Yeah, for sure. And that's so how long did you work before you opened up your first practice?
I got out in 94, and I built this office in 2000. So 94, 95 was in my residency. 95, 98 was teaching at UCLA. 98 to 2000 was working in private practice and still doing research at UCLA. But I knew I wanted to do my own thing, and just push came to shove, and I was like, it's time to go make some money and do it my way. Bullheaded kind of to run out and do it, but I knew it could work. There's plenty of room for another dentist. It just depends on what you're offering. And so my niche is different.
Yeah. And so when you're working as an associate, were you working at a high end sort of cosmetic practice as well, or you're kind of just doing general dentistry, and then you're like, this is not what I want to do. I want to do more high end sort of thing, and then kind of went that way with it?
You have to put in the time somewhere. I worked in three dental offices, privately owned, that were on HMOs and PPOs and whatnot. They'd give me the scut work, and you kind of learn how to deal with that for a while. In my case, being somewhat stubborn, some places I'd last 3 months, some I may last 6 or 7 months. And either they blow me out or I leave them. But I think, I was talking to my wife, I think I've been fired from just about every dental job other than like 2, because I was stubborn. I wouldn't lie to a patient. I wouldn't put in bad dentistry. If the dentist wanted me to deliver their crown, it was lousy, I would just say, you know what, you need to go back and see that doctor. After a while in most offices, it was kind of obvious that this guy needs to go do his own thing.
He needs his own place. So I noticed you have a lot of obviously side projects and like side hustles and stuff that you got going on as well. Obviously from your interview with Dr. Ferran, you mentioned you have like that web development website. You're into like racing cars. So you're doing a lot of stuff outside of dentistry. When did all that stuff kind of start happening for you? Because I think a problem that I'm personally having is I want to do that stuff too, and I'm trying to get into like creating businesses and becoming a lecturer and doing all this stuff. But I'm just starting my dental career too, so I'm like, it's a tricky balance of like I need to improve as a clinician, but also like put time towards these things that I want to be working on. So when did that come for you? When did that period of your like clinical life come that I'm comfortable, I got my practice going, things are going well, let me branch out now and like work with some like web developers and build something, or let me start racing cars? When did you get that comfort zone that you start to branch out a little bit?
Well, obviously time management is important. So early on in a career, if you bought an office, if you built an office, you have to focus on that. And once that is up and running well enough, then you can start concentrating on other things, because you don't want to try and juggle too many things and have them all fall apart. So once the office was up and running, and we're a couple of years into it, and it's making a nice income on it, then it's all right. What do I want to do next? And I love business, and dentistry allowed me to do more business. So it's like, okay, what do I want to do? So inventing little things became the next aspect, as well as I was already lecturing. But so it's like, okay, I could make something that would make my life easier for this, and so I would invent it. Or I'd look at something that could be made out of a plastic that was easy to fabricate as opposed to a metal or something with electronics.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of tinkered and looked for things. So I've come up with a couple things over time, and then it was like, all right, some things in the dental industry that I didn't like, I felt I was getting taken advantage of by certain, like website software companies that make claims that they're working on your website when truly most of them aren't.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, if you're truly working for me, show me what you're doing, and to justify what I'm paying every month. And most of them will tell you we can't tell you, but it's proprietary. We don't want you stealing our secret sauce.
Yeah.
So as I learned more and more outside of dentistry from guys that are in the website industry, I started learning a little bit about code and what goes on, and that most time not much is being done. So that became the next company. It's like, all right, I'm gonna talk to some guys. I want to create a software company where we can build websites. And so we built a company that was being used not in dentistry but just out in the regular world to build websites.
Yeah.
And then we said, okay, let's build a different model. And so the newer model was, let's build a new tool to build websites that agencies could use. And so that's where it's at currently.
So like a higher end sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it became, all right, what do I want to do next? And so I've got some other irons in the fire as far as some cool virtual reality, altered reality stuff that we've been working on for a while. And as connections happen and you're meeting people, you start tying other companies and other businesses together, and you come up with other ideas. So it's fun to kind of tie things together. And so from there, you go, all right, well, I love having fun, surfing, racing, mountain bikes, whatever. And so then you start going, all right, well, now I got money and I want to go do some fun stuff. And so you start tying those in.
Get some sports cars.
So time management becomes very important. You got to learn how to juggle things well.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're married with a kid, you got to juggle more.
Yeah. That's the real stuff starts happening. So what tips do you have for, obviously a lot of the listeners to this podcast are like newer dentists, younger dentists. And many of them are like me. I've been working for about a year now, working different offices. So for many people who are working right now, working just an associate position, not necessarily working in the ideal practice environment that they want to be working in down the line, not doing like the type of dentistry they want to be doing, or necessarily that they're doing the high end stuff maybe that they want to do. What actionable tips do you have for people who want to start transitioning that way in their practicing life? Like what decisions do they have to make? What CEs like the highest value or biggest like ROI that you've seen or you would recommend for this kind of thing?
I'm sorry, you cut out just a little bit there. So what's the biggest return on investment or biggest thing that someone that's young in someone else's office, how would they approach?
Exactly. Trying to, get themselves into a better environment or get themselves into an environment where they're doing the type of dentistry that they want to be doing ultimately.
Well, obviously, if you're in an office that's not allowing you to do any of that or doesn't have the ability, it's not the type of patient base that would even want that maybe.
Yeah.
Then I would certainly in my spare time be looking for a different place of employment.
Yeah.
But AACD did a survey, and that 50% of the patients coming to your practice want something done cosmetically to their smile, and 3 out of 5 are willing to pay for it. The problem is most people don't take the time because of insurance constraints or too many patients in the schedule to actually sit and talk to each patient about what could be done. So again, going back to learn how to speak from like a Dale Carnegie or Toastmasters and talk to your patients. I think a lot of people say, well, I don't have the time to talk to patients because the insurance reimburses me at such a low level for an exam.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care if they give me 0. I'm going to spend half an hour, an hour, because I know if I talk to enough patients, I'm going to find gold in there.
Yeah.
And that's just a different model maybe, but it works. And so then if you go, all right, I talked to enough patients, I found enough cosmetic dentistry, I can do that. Now I can start doing less of the insurance-based stuff and not have to worry about reimbursement. And then it's just a matter of how can I help the patient get financed to get what they want.
Yeah. And do you have, so what's like a workflow, like a typical workflow? So a new patient comes into your practice. Are you doing like full photos and then sitting down with them later? Or do you just, at this point in your career, got that comfort zone where you just like kind of walk in and you just have that conversation off the bat? Or do you have some like workup that you do before you go in so you can present something to the patient?
It kind of depends on what type of patient it is. So if they're coming in as a new patient and they're coming in for normal restorative dentistry,
Yeah.
it's going to be a little different approach. They fill out the paper at the front desk. They come in and sit down in the operatory, and I do my full hour of basic examination. So my assistant takes X-rays. I use my Carey view. I use my Canary. I have a lot of discussion. We evaluate the TMJs. I do so many things that most patients, I say, have never seen. They're instantly blown away. Like, no one's done any of these things before. Even a simple, like an oral cancer exam where you're just looking and feeling. It's like nobody does that. Like, yeah, they do. They're all taught in dental school. So that's a basic one. But most people say an hour for an exam. Like, yeah, I do a lot of stuff. Do I take models and photos at that appointment? I do take photos of every single tooth, but I do it with an intraoral camera, so it's quick and easy. Yeah. I don't get my big 35 millimeter out and start doing retracted photos and taking models or anything. Okay. I know some people talk about that, but I've done enough that I've got their confidence. They know that they're in a great place. And if they need something that I've evaluated, then I'll talk to them about that further, and we'll do that another point in time. Yeah. Because then they're going to go to hygiene after that. That's another hour in my office. So the 2 hours they've spent in my office, that's enough. Yeah. Versus if they come in on a cosmetic consult, they sit down in the chair and I sit down and we have a nice long discussion for as long as they want to talk about their problem. And then I finally get behind the chair, lean them back and look in their mouth. And after having done that, then I will take photos of everything. Yeah. And we'll sit and look at their case on a monitor. And I'll spend a good hour, sometimes an hour and a half, talking to some about what we can do for them and looking at prior cases. So you got to have a camera to share other work you've done. And that hour and a half, nobody usually takes that kind of time to talk to someone. No. They go to a consult. It's like a 5-10 minute. They go, yeah, we can do veneers. We can do them today. And here's some photos of 2 cases I did, and it's on their cell phone. They're showing their cell phone photos. Yeah. So instantly, the confidence a patient gets from someone who is can show them work they've done, can explain it, and talk a lot about it, and really spend a lot of time and truly care for the patient and want to help them, I think goes a long way. And I think that's one of the things that really stands me apart from maybe the other consults they have and from some of the feedback I get from patients that allows me to do a lot of cosmetic dentistry just because of the way I approach it versus just, it's quick money. I can put veneers on everything. Yeah. I try and get inside their head and figure out what they want and try and communicate that I'm going to give them what they want. And then you got that emotional attachment of, touching on the shoulder, touching on the elbow, and telling them I'm going to take great care of them. So there's a lot of those touch points that come again from Carnegie, those masters. Yeah.
Goes back to the basics. And so when you're first starting out, after you've done your GPR and you're working in these offices, where'd you get that confidence, like with the patients trusting you? Because I know, like for myself, like I'm not even that young, but I'll still get the odd comment of like, oh, how old are you? Like, how long have you been doing this for? Kind of thing. So if you're gonna be in there, like, okay, let's do like this like $30,000 like veneer case, like, and they'll look at you like have you been like? So like, where does that come from? Like, where did that? Do you still have to just get lucky on the first few kind of and get a few under your belt to get that confidence going, and then you can like have like a portfolio to like show patients. So like it's like that first big case I think is like a hurdle that some people never get to in their career because they're just like stick doing their quadrant dentistry and then never go into that full mouth kind of space.
Well, I feel the progression is you learn how to do adhesive dentistry, direct composites in the back of the mouth, and you'll do some direct bonding in the front. And then you start doing maybe some ceramic inlays, onlays, or ceramic crowns. You start to get comfortable with indirect bonding, indirect bonding of restorations. And that basically is the same type of adhesion you're going to do in the front of the mouth, whether it be crowns or veneers. So once you're comfortable with that, then it becomes all right. Depending on the practice you're in, the 2 first offices I was in, I never had to do any anterior cosmetic stuff. It was, maybe a composite class 3, class 4. That was about it. Yeah. So getting to the next offices, it was like, I do some cosmetic dentistry. I get lucky. I get a couple patients, and they want something done, and you get lucky in the beginning, or maybe you're fortunate enough the dentist that you work with gives you one, or however you get it, you get lucky. Yeah. And so obviously you're nervous. It's like the first time you do an amalgam in clinic. Yeah. And things take longer, and you may get frustrated, and patients can sense if you're frustrated. They can see it in your face, your personality, how you're talking to them, whatever. So learn really quickly how to hide that, take it off your shoulder or sleeve. Yeah. Because I was not good at that in the beginning, and so people are like, "Man, he's pissed." I'm like, "It's not pissed at the patient. They feel you're pissed at them." It's like, no, I'm frustrated with myself. Yeah. Because I can't get it to be where I want it to be at. And so as soon as you start doing a few of those, you learn like anything. You learn from a mistake, and you say, okay, I won't do that again. Or you go, you know what, that went so much faster this time because I did it this way. Okay, so I'm gonna do it that way in the future. And then after you've done a few of them, you get comfortable, and that confidence and comfort starts to grow over time. And just like public speaking, you eventually go, yeah, no problem, we can do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it happened. It's just slow over time.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
just
awesome.
like anything.
That's perfect. Yeah, because I think that's a big problem for like a lot of us having that. You know, we need that first lucky case to kind of someone walks in the door saying like, "Oh, I want like 4 veneers," and you're like, "Okay, sweet." Like, I don't have to do much for that. So, I think once you get a few of those under your belt and you get that bit of confidence, and then you're sort of off to the races that way. And what about technology? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I'll stop you for one other second.
Yeah.
I'll say, the other thing is that you were saying being at a young age. I came out of school, I just turned 25. So I did 3 years of 3 years of college, didn't graduate college, and then did 4 years at UCLA. And so I was very young looking. Yeah. And so I wear a suit every day for like the first, 10, 12 years of my career.
Really?
To make me look older, like I knew what I was doing. Yeah. And to some extent, glasses. Instead of wearing my contacts, I wear my glasses just to try and make things look better. And I still was really young, and I got it all the time. Yeah. But, I pigeonholed myself by calling my practice, a cosmetic aesthetic type of, name. It wasn't just Dr. Snyder. And so people would call me thinking that that's all I did. And I would have to tell them that I do regular dentistry too. Yeah. Because a lot of times they thought that's all I did, which was great to pigeonhole yourself. Yeah. But also you realize that people weren't coming to you maybe because they didn't think you did regular dentistry, so they weren't calling. Mm-hmm. So, there's a double-edged sword there. But there was one other thing I was going to go with as far as the age and the learning, but I slipped my mind now. But yeah, definitely, dressing the part. Oh, I know what it was. Okay, so patients have no idea of me being a cosmetic dentist versus anyone else on the planet that just, whether they just got out yesterday at school or someone's been out 40 years that claims in their website cosmetic dentist. Yeah. And so they have no idea for the most part. Yeah. To some extent, yeah. I mean, there's wonderful programs like the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, you know, where I got my accreditation fellowship, and it's a great accolade, but most patients don't know what that is. Yeah. Some have taken enough time to research it and know what it is, and they seek you out. Mm-hmm. They're working currently on a diplomat board where, cosmetic dentistry will be a recognized specialty. And when that happens, patients still probably won't know for many, many years that, especially. So you kind of have to hold that out there on your own. So you can claim to do cosmetic dentistry and be a cosmetic dentist the same as I can or anyone else. Mm-hmm. And so when a patient's perception is, if you're wearing that suit, and you got the confidence and you can tell them you look the part. Yeah. You got it. Walk the walk, talk the talk.
This is the theme of this episode, is that fake it till you make it. So that's great. And okay, so that's a lot of good stuff that is talked about here with the cosmetic dentistry stuff that we want to get into. And so with the AACD, what's the pathway like now? If someone wants to get that accreditation under their belt just for their own sake, or even just for the marketing side of things down the line to have that credential, is it sort of like you just have to, like the AGD, where you have to take a certain number of hours and it kind of goes towards it? Or...
So the pathway, the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, they do a great job of providing content, to go to their annual meeting. You can do a ton of hands-on. I'm doing 2 hands-on programs in, April back in Chicago. And we're doing anterior composite, but you can take composite courses and veneer courses, and they really set you up to succeed. They give you photography courses. Yeah. And so having taken however many courses you want to take and wherever you want to take them, the pathway is you take a written exam that proves your knowledge. And having, accomplished that, you have to turn in 5 cases, and they go through, the different cases that basically would show that you can accomplish, freehand composite bonding, as well as small diastemas and class 4s, veneers, crowns, and implants and or bridges. Yeah. And they teach you all those, and they teach you the things they look for, and it's tiny details that they're looking for. And that's what I think sets a good cosmetic dentist apart, is to learn all the little things that make a tooth really look believable. Yeah. And you like anything, at first you slap composite, and then someone starts talking about line angles and imbrication lines and paracomata and all these different things. You're going, hey, what? Yeah. And so it takes a few years to learn all those, but also to be comfortable in fabricating all these different things. And once you get to a point where you're comfortable with those, then you can start doing that and start applying for your accreditation. And they give you all the tools. There's no reason why there's no one out there that can't become accredited. They put the time in. It's not just learning it, but you got to spend the time after hours in the office practicing on extracted teeth or ivorines. It's not just getting 1 or 2 patients a month that you practice on. You got to practice regularly. You listen to Newton Fall or even myself, we'd sit around doing stuff in the lab after hours. And I still do stuff after hours. I still do wax ups and things. So it's always trying to keep your hands busy at the art of creating a tooth.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, like you mentioned, the amount of work that you guys are putting in, like on extracted teeth or on like typodonts. And that kind of stuff is like lost on a lot of people because we show up on Instagram and we see these pages and everyone's doing like all this amazing work. And like, we don't necessarily see the work that went into it beforehand, like to hone the skill. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. I think that's an important point not to lose, because I don't think many of us are doing that, putting in that work. We just think it's going to come naturally or come easy for us.
Yeah, that is a common misconception. There's a lot of time that's been put behind stuff. And, honestly, most people are probably showing all their best work.
Yeah.
And some of that work takes a long time. Some of those bonding cases, those are hours to do.
Yeah.
6, 8, 10 composite bondings. It's not like, I knocked that out in half an hour. Here's another one. But I think, again, bonding and wax ups, I think those teach you the most as far as hand skill.
Yeah.
And let's face it, most people don't spend the time to do that. And that's where you can get really good versus, a lot of people can do veneers and or crowns. And so long as you've done proper, tissue management and proper preparation design for the laboratory, they can make you look great.
Yeah.
Where I see that interesting is if you can get away with taking a very minimal amount of tooth structure off, 0.3 of a millimeter, and rotate a tooth and add some porcelain and make it look amazing and have good function. Now that becomes challenging because anybody can, cut a tooth down to like 3/4 of its size and slap a pressed ceramic on and say, hey, look at me. But I see those all the time and I don't consider that good dentistry. It's like if you destroy that much tooth to fix the problem. Versus something that was more conservative, save the tooth.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So the final things that I want to sort of get into with you is like technology. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff coming out all the time, like the 3D printing's coming. Obviously, like the digital impressions and scanning and milling have been around for a little bit longer. Lasers as well. What kind of stuff are you using on a day-to-day basis that you think have been pretty valuable for you?
Oh, there's a lot of different things. Obviously, you got to have loops.
Yeah.
You got to have computers. I would say nowadays, if you're a young dentist coming out, don't buy x-ray heads for every room. Don't buy computers for every room. Nowadays with technology, it's nice. You can buy a tablet and move it from room to room. So you're not doing expenditures. You can buy one Cavo Nomad as portable x-ray that you can move anywhere in the practice. You could buy a single digital sensor that attaches to that tablet. You could get a single intraoral camera.
Yeah.
And I think a carry view, anyone who doesn't have a carry view is just, I don't know, missing out.
Yeah.
For I think it's about $5,000-$6,000. The amount of dentistry that thing pays for itself. I mean, literally in a week or two. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you want to make money, grab one of those too. So you could literally start an office from scratch in literally a 1 or 2 chair office fairly inexpensively compared to what it used to be. And so those technologies say you've got to have. From there, you got to have your handpiece. I prefer electrics for everything because of the way you can tune them. But from there, diode laser, you can get an AMD diode laser very inexpensively. But you can get $1,000 off from, mentioning you're in one of my programs. It's CE Snyder 18. So,
Snyder 18.
To instantly get, $1,000 off of, what is it, $4,000 laser, you just save 25%.
That's pretty good.
Got to have one of those. Yeah. So going into technology, yes, I've had 2 intraoral scanners. I take back 3. I sent 2 of them back. I still have the CareStream 3600, which is very fast, great product.
Yeah.
But none of them manage tissue, blood, and saliva. So you still have to manage all those. So the ability for a technology to come out that looks through all those, that'll be a game changer. And I would spend, a fair amount of money for one of those devices. But I'm still doing, for the most part, traditional impression materials for my cases.
Yeah.
I've got articulators. I think I got like 12 articulators that I use on a regular basis. what other technology? I've got, big old CO2 lasers. I already mentioned the diodes.
Yeah.
I don't have any, I've got porcelain furnaces. I've got indirect resin furnaces. I've got pressure pots. I've got a wax up, instrument.
Yeah.
I've got all those goodies in the lab, but, I don't have like a CAD CAM device.
Okay.
I don't have printers. My rationale for those is live video pause request. I was talking about, some of these CAD CAM type devices.
Yeah.
When I was teaching at UCLA, we were helping them develop software for the veneers back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
They kicked me out again. Jeez. I'm just going to keep talking regardless of it's videotaping.
Yeah.
But, I think they're great. If I was in a practice where I was someplace that I couldn't get a quick turnaround time from the lab, or I needed something that, I just didn't have a ceramist that could make something for me that looked great in a timely fashion, whatever, I could see buying one of those.
Yeah.
My look at it from a business sense is the expenditure on it is fairly large. So if I'm spending $120,000, how long does it take me to recoup back that investment, plus the cost of all the dongle fees and, burr fees and block fees and my time to sit there and fabricate something, playing lab technician, so to speak.
Yeah.
That, that part is taking time away from working with other patients. Now, if you have that time because you're not, seeing a lot of patients or something, then that's great. But I see it as if I can go get a crown for $100, for the back of the mouth. Well, how many $100 crowns do I have to buy to pay for that, CAD CAM type of system?
Yeah, for sure.
So I look at it that way. But then again, if I'm putting inlays and onlays in everybody's mouths, and getting a lot out of it, that's great. You're paying it down sooner. But cost effectiveness, I think, as far as return on investment, I can spend more time using inexpensive impression material, going, patient to patient, sending more stuff to my lab and letting them do their expertise. And I can spend more time making money in the patient's mouth and doing other things, or taking that $120,000 and investing it in some other type of business venture and making a faster profit on my money. It's kind of how I approach it. But if I had multiple dentists working for me, or numerous people that could use it, that's sharing the expenditure, then I'd say it makes even more sense for me.
Overhead worthwhile. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing, because something that I want to try and get into, because, with the whole biomimetic dentistry, or like minimally invasive dentistry, going more towards like onlays and everything like that. I think it'd be nice to have that, because it's going to be hard to put a temporary on that for a couple of weeks, get the patient back, get to stay on kind of thing for a lot of cases. So maybe a nicer workflow to have that CAD CAM or CEREC in the office to do those kind of things. Like you said, though, if it makes sense financially, and if you have enough patience for it to fulfill that. So just to wrap up here, Dr. Snyder, obviously we went through a lot of great stuff, a lot of valuable information. Is there anything else that you want to mention? Obviously, you got a lot of stuff that you're working on. Do you have anything upcoming that you want the listeners to know about?
Well, there's there's probably two different things. One, the company known as Ingenious, it's spelled N-G-E-N-Y-S, ingenious.com. They are using a platform to fabricate websites now in the dental industry.
Okay.
They've been working outside of dentistry for large companies and other agencies and things, but they're coming into dentistry guns blazing, so to speak. They're going to change the way websites are being performing, number one, but also holding someone accountable. So right now, where you can't see what's been done to your website to determine, like a monthly expenditure, the website manufacturers say, hey, you pay us $300 a month so that we can do your website. It's like, well, what are they doing for the $300 a month? They won't tell you. This company will show you minute by minute, hour by hour, everything they're doing. So you know exactly what you're paying for. But also, I think you'll find that their results are far better than many of the other companies out there. So that's one cool thing that I just announced in Chicago. That people might want to take a look at. The other thing is this altered reality, which becomes great for those doing cosmetic dentistry, in that the ability for someone to see themselves, like in a Snapchat or one of these altered reality kind of things where you can put ears or dog ears on your head and stick your tongue out and then your tongue comes out like a dog. This type of altered reality, as it's called, has come into dentistry. And so Ivoclar unveiled it. Ivoclar unveiled it in Chicago, where you can hold an iPad in front of your face and smile. And when your teeth are
Shows the
apparent, it
ideal.
sees that. It shows you some teeth, and you can change. Right now, they got 3 different like libraries of teeth that you could drop on.
Wow.
You can change the whiteness, you can change the width and length, the amount of vertical display.
That's
so
crazy.
Very clever. It's not available for sale, but they showed it there.
It's coming though. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah. So if you had that in your office for the 50% of people that want to do something, and you hold that up and show them instantly, that may convert a lot of patients. Instead of doing traditional cosmetic mock-ups through imaging that takes some time, this may be a fast, quick solution. What I think could be interesting about this is with followers on Instagram, with all of us, showing cases on Instagram and getting people all over the planet to come to our offices.
Yeah.
If there's a way that we can have them see themselves
like
through
virtual consults or something.
Yeah, exactly. A virtual consult like Dr. Brian Harris is doing out of Arizona. And he's got his website that people can go there and, find a dentist close by to do a virtual consult. So if we could send out a little widget to someone who wants to do a consult and they have the ability to see themselves, that becomes a very powerful tool to get someone to come to your office to change their smile, because they can see it emotionally, get that attachment.
Yeah.
And the company that out here, this Ingenious, they're tied into another company that does altered reality and virtual reality. And we were looking at doing something totally different, but similar. And so it's going to be interesting to see, how these 2 different products come forward, because I'm really excited to see how we can implement these for people that aren't coming into the office, that want that immediate gratification and the immediate consultation. It's going to fill that niche, I think, real quickly.
That's so cool.
So that's another thing that I think people are going to see. And that's where I'm going to start posting more in my stories about some of the cool new things that are coming out or things that I'm doing. Because I love sharing, and that's why one of the reasons I lecture. If anyone's gone to my lecture, I share a lot of content. So things that make my business run well is what I share, and it's things that I implement. So I feel I'll be sharing more of those very soon.
That's super cool. And I think it's a great time for a new dentist. I think even like maybe when you graduated, you didn't have access to this much information and this many resources as graduates today do. We come out of school and, obviously like there's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's online forums that, have been around for a bit longer. And it's just a great way for us to connect. If you have any questions, you can post it up and, within half an hour, you have, dentists from around the world giving their input and giving, saying what they think. So I think it's a great time for us to be learning and progressing our work. So I think the opportunity is there for people who want to take it, and it's pretty readily available. So I do appreciate, your time for coming on the podcast and talking. There's a cool thing that we did with the Instagram Live. Hopefully I want to start doing that a little bit more frequently and trying to work out the glitches a little bit so it's a little bit smoother next time. But definitely I'll put the Ingenious and the Altered Reality stuff from Avaclar on the show notes when the podcast comes out. So people can check it out. What's the best way for the listeners to reach out to you if they have any questions or anything like that they want to be in contact with you about?
Well, you can obviously, go to my Instagram. You can message me on there at the Todd Snyder DDS. Yeah. And also my racing profile page, which is the Todd Snyder 1.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
You don't have that one?
No.
Todd Snyder 1. Yeah.
Okay.
The Todd Snyder, then the number 1. Right now we're in hiatus. The season starts in May, so we're talking to sponsors, trying to get back there. And we last year had held lectures at the racetrack, so people could come out and get some dental lectures, CE credits and whatnot, but also watch the races. So Todd Snyder 1 is that one. The other place they can go, obviously, is they can go on Facebook, and I post stuff there, or they can certainly email me. So you can give out my email at doc, which is DOC at tcsdental.com, and they're always welcome to write me there, and depending on how many people bombard me, I can certainly get back to people, but we'll see after going viral with the podcast
here. We'll see how we do. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much again for coming on. I hope we can do this again sometime, and we'll try it live again and do sort of like an update to see how things are going. Like I mentioned to you, I'm moving back to Australia in a few weeks here. So that's why I find it's like an exciting opportunity for me, because it's like a fresh start. I can go there and sort of apply everything I'm learning and everything I'm learning from, all the guests on the podcast who are doing great things.
Here's what I would challenge you with, depending on what your confidence level. Once you feel good and you're obviously comfortable talking here, but I think nowadays, if I was a young dentist, because they're always going, I got so much debt coming out of school, I couldn't open my own practice. And I go, you know what? Yeah, I probably had, $100,000 of debt coming out of school. And then I opened an office and dropped like another 400,000 of money from loans. So I'm $500,000 in debt. And I've built out, a big 1,400 square foot place with 5 ops.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that necessarily. You could only build 2 of the ops out, or you could start with a smaller place, but you don't need all the infrastructure. Like I said, you can save so much money nowadays that I think opening an office from scratch nowadays is not as tough as it sounds. Provided you don't go into an area where there's a ton of people.
Yeah, the
but
demographics
it could be done.
Important.
Yeah, you got to do a demographics. You got to study. You got to look at it like a business. You can't just go out there not knowing anything about business, just pop up a shop.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think depending on where you go, you could open a very small office with literally like 2 chairs and minimal product, and make a huge splash that you're doing something different, and then expand that and either have the room to expand in that suite or get a different suite somewhere else. I totally would do that nowadays.
I think that's a great thing. But what do you think? Would you, and that's something that I have thought about, but the problem is starting from scratch nowadays, obviously depending on the area you're in, it's going to take a long time for that patient base to build up to where you have like a sustainable sort of income. Would you still keep an associateship position for 1 or 2 days a week or 2-3 days a week, just to have that income source while the practice grows? Or would you just go 100% and just go all into the practice?
Yeah. So I worked 2 days a week that basically helped support my office. And I was in here 3 days a week. And I was here, 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning till like 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, just constantly working on stuff, putting stuff together and practicing and doing things. And when you don't have patients, that means you go outside and you talk.
Yeah.
Because the more people you talk to, the more bodies you get in your chair. 50% of people have a dentist. The other 50 don't. And instantly everyone says, oh, I got this problem or that problem. It's easy to get patients when you have time to go talk. Once you get to the tipping point of you don't have time to go talk to people, now you have enough bodies in your office that now they're doing the work for you, and there's ways to do that too.
Word of mouth.
But
and everything,
yeah, I mean, all you need is a couple patients a month. So like the first month you get 6 patients. If you can generate $5,000, that's enough money typically to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And depending on how big your student loans are, if you can defer some of it or whatever, or get a small business loan where you have some working capital.
Yeah.
I think any office, if you're in business for 6 months, you should have enough money coming in at 6 months mark that you should be fine, provided you didn't go to a very horrible place with a bunch of dentists competing all at rock bottom prices. So I think it's doable.
Yeah.
Because you could open literally like a little 400 square foot office with 2 ops and a small reception room, and have literally like 1 computer or 2 computers that are portable.
Yeah.
And just have some killer technology. You don't need all the stuff that we used to have.
It's nice because things are getting more affordable too. Like we mentioned, you can sort of there's little hacks here and there that you can get things for a little bit cheaper, or like off-label use for like some technology that you can get like for like non-dental specific. So it's a little bit cheaper as well. So you can have like pretty low overhead, I think, if you want to go that route. It's not a bad option. Definitely food for thought, and something that I should consider. But the problem is, so what time frame though do you think is still worthwhile? Like, say for example, if I'm there when I open a practice, but I have to move back like to Canada after like 4 years, is that worthwhile still? Do you think, because you've sort of built up some equity, you're getting some momentum, and then you got to sort of sell the practice and move on?
Well, there's a lot of variables there as far as if you open from scratch and did some stuff, you've got something to sell, which is nice, versus working for someone else. Yeah, you may pocket money, but what type of dentistry did you get to do? And did you get to really push kind of the business model of what you may do if you're going to go back to Canada? If you're going to go back to Canada and stay in Canada, well, then that's a great model to have tried and see where you might alter or change things for the next go around.
It once, like we said, everything's experience, right? So if you don't do it,
you're nervous as hell. You're going, I don't know if I can do it. Well, once you've done it, and which it's easier once you've done it. And I have. And I go, no problem. I could do it again. But there's definitely concerns in the beginning. But if you break off a very small piece that's easier to chew, then it's I think a lot more simple than buying some huge Taj Mahal and going bankrupt because you couldn't get enough patients. But think if all you need is like maybe 1 Invisalign case a month, 2-3 crowns in a month, a couple fillings, a couple cleanings. I did my own cleanings for the first year and a half or 2. It's not that hard to make a buck in dentistry. And so if you can do it with a small footprint, a little shopping center, and you got a tiny little, storefront or whatever to start that people can see you, and you just treat them differently than every other dentist that they've been to has been doing.
Yeah.
You know, you can make it work. And, you know, you don't have to be on insurance plans. You know, that's kind of a headache, but you have to at least be able to bill to PPO insurance plans. I don't know how it is in other countries, obviously, but in the States, you have to be able to bill to a PPO. So that's easy to do, whether you're in network or out of network. Out of network, I found to be easier, and I still do to this day. Out of network, I can charge any fee I want. So when I charge off to their insurance company, if they pay a great amount, that's wonderful. If they pay a very small amount, they're going, well, I could have paid less if I went to an in-network provider. Well, that's fine. You can always waive your fee and waive it down to what they would have paid as an in-network provider and say, well, I'll meet the same as the other guy because you like coming here. So let me hook you up. You do that for a few years, they love you, they're going to stay with you. And then if you decide to slowly raise some fees, they're still going to stick around.
Yeah.
You know, so there's ways to play the game. People are too scared to get off insurances, which in my mind, that's part of the reason that they're doing so poorly is they're too scared. They don't have the confidence to get out of that and do something different. But everyone's got a different business model, you know? So if you're going to go down to Australia, it might not be a bad thing to do, but I, you know, would certainly be working somewhere else, maybe a day or 2 a week just to give me some supplemental pocket change.
Exactly. Yeah.
To maybe carry over the first couple months, but I don't think it's a problem so long as you don't go right in the smack dab of, let's say, Melbourne with, you know, a couple other 100 dentists all right on every corner around you. I don't know how it is, but
yeah, no, it's the same. Yeah, similar to, I mean, it's not as bad as California, I don't think, but I think most big cities are now pretty saturated. But like, I'm actually I'm pretty pumped up about what you're telling me right now. It was getting me thinking a little bit and getting me excited to sort of explore that a little bit, because I have always wanted, like, my plan was initially, like in school, like I was really focused on the business side of things, and that's something that is my main interest. Obviously working now and because I knew I was sort of going back to Australia after a year or so of being in Canada again, I wasn't going to open anything in that space of time, but being there for 3 or 4 years, I think it might be worthwhile, maybe like you said, to open up a small shop, kind of a boutique kind of place where you can keep staff numbers down and keep everything in-house kind of thing, and trying to spend a whole lot of money, but do the type of work that you want to do and build it out. Be your own boss. I think that's all sounds very promising and pretty cool to do. So,
well, the other thing is the site. Don't go overboard on the site. And if things don't work out well, then you can break your lease agreement. You can take your dental chair. You can take your portable computer, your X-rays, your intraoral camera, and everything else, and walk away. And you're not really out anything.
Yeah.
Versus nowadays, or when I was doing it, you build everything out. Everything's attached to the walls and everything else, and you're screwed, kind of. So nowadays, like, I could walk away from it and not be out much of anything.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good time to do that. And I think the other thing is it becomes great for you if you do it. Now it becomes a great, talking point for you to do more, speaking on how does these young guys come out of school and do it. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, it's exactly what Snyder said. I did it. It worked. Let me show you what I did and how I made it my own and maybe did something a little different. So there's another opportunity.
That's awesome. No, I really appreciate that. Now, something I'm going to start looking into, because I had that thought, but this is like a little fire under me. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on and passing on some wisdom and getting me pumped up a little bit here. Hopefully the listeners get pumped up from it as well, and we can see some people starting to take some action and start to do things their own way that they want to do down the line.
I love it. I hope I helped some people.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll do this again soon.
All right. Take care. We'll see you on Instagram.
Bye.
Bye-bye.